The morning after the first and tumultuous day in Jinzhou, we started the day off with having breakfast at Panho's restaurant, accompanied by our two Jinzhou residents, Jisha and Yang. Only Baizhi is missing from the characters who played a bigger role yesterday, but Jisha in her funny way lets us know that Baizhi is not going to be a part of today's quest.
We won't see her till she's done with her research.
After clearing that, we pick up deciphering the magistrate's clues where we left them off yesterday. The candy and the sundial is now solved, only the leaf and the mangosteens left. This will provide the structure of the main story for the following 2 acts, that is, today's episode. Jisha mentions how quickly we solved the other 2 items mystery and offers 2 solutions. Either I'm clever or the magistrate is going easy on us. As you can see by the movement of my cursor, I did not leave any doubt regarding the question, but obviously I did not say that out loud. I couldn't, and it wouldn't have been proper. We start investigating the mangosteens case. As it's not from Jinzhou, we have to go outside the city. Thankfully, yesterday we got an access pass from Sanhua, the magistrate's bodyguard, so we should be in the clear.
Do you think the token is guiding us outside the city?
As Jisha has to go and do some actual work, Yang will be our guide for the day. And thus, Jisha leaves us in her care, although we, as I stressed, can fend for ourselves.
Without a doubt.
I think we didn't convince Yang. On our way to the city gates, we meet Instructor Yan, but I decided to skip training and continue my way towards our objective. The outskirts were waiting.
The fence at the city gate has been strengthened. It wasn't like this when we came back.
Access pass is required if you're heading to the Norfall Barrens.
At the gates, a monk is trying to convince the guards to let her pass, but the guards seem unfazed.
What is your business, young lady?
Why can't she leave the city, you might ask? Because there is a war going on outside. A war between humans and Tassadus guards. The quest we're about to witness is to set light on this small detail, and it's a hard thing to achieve in a game that's also trying to stay playable and mobile. You can't load and move 2 many dummies at once due to the target hardware's limitations, but it's hard to show battles without scales. Also, there's no real wounds in this game, no blood, we're playing something made in China. So we have to show the small things instead. And this monk not being able to leave the city is the first clue the writers show us, pointing at the big picture of battles going on in the background, far from this safe zone, the city. We, as rover, also need to see the effects of war, as we've also just came to this place, Word City. I don't know how far removed we should feel regarding our origin yet, but what's for sure is that we've only seen the peaceful side of this world, not counting our run-in with the Crownless and the other weird Tacit discord in Baizhi's simulation. The point is, it could have been that we were their only targets, but that's not the case. The whole of humanity is at peril.
Just you two?
Shall this monk really go outside the city if there is a war going on? As you can see, I deliberated long before answering this question, and I let her do the pleading and not just offer her some instant help. I mean, we really don't know if she's telling the truth.
Greetings. I'm Jianshin. Could you please do me a favor? I want to go look for someone outside the city, but I don't have an access pass, so may I tag along?
And I also let the guards decide if my access pass would be enough to let her through too. But it seems everything's fine. Sanha gave us the highest clearance there is in Jinzhou. And so we set off towards today's adventure.
Honestly, he could lead an entire troop out of the city with that access pass, and no one would question it.
Welcome to the Solidus 3 journal.
So you're looking for the relative of a veteran, and you believe he's in the Midnight Rangers camp in Desert Highland?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This mangosteen?
We try to also gather some information from the monk Genshin about the mangosteen, but to no avail.
Fully ripened inside. It looks like a nice fruit.
As it turns out, the person she's looking for is in the same direction as we're headed, so we hit the road together. But before leaving the checkpoint, I decided to salute all the blue uniformed officers for, I don't know. Maybe it was ironic and I saluted them for letting Genshin through just because I vouched for her. Or maybe it was done in earnest, and I saluted them for keeping vigil at the city gates. Who knows? I certainly don't remember. After reaching the rearguard base, which felt more like a post rather than a base, we learned that we have to go further as our target is not stationed this close to the city, rather he can be found at the rearguard's camp, which, when we get there, actually feels like a base, although they say it's a camp. True to how games and fetch quests work, we also get a second job while we head to the rearguard's camp, to check on some out-of-service devices. This is how we meet our first group of exiles.
What might interest you here?
For a long while, I did not understand how exiles work in this game. I thought, just like the Fractsidus, they are a homogeneous faction, but as I learned very much later on, these are just outcasts, bandits, your general bad guys living outside the boundaries of law, and share only a name with other sects of their kind. The narrative reason to meet these three is simple. Our theme for this quest is war, so they show the people escaping the territories close to the front line. They're hungry and have nothing but what's on their bodies, live in precarity, not knowing what tomorrow holds.
Do you need help?
The battles are getting real bad up north, and we couldn't live there anymore. Figured we have to go back to the city. You're giving us all of these?
It was nothing.
Although Genshin shows kindness to them, they attack us, wanting even more of our money, so we have to put them to their places. Turns out the monk can fight. Also a quick mention, although I know she'll have her own quest later on, but Genshin's design is one I actually like, which cannot be said about most of the characters in this game. As I established it in the last episode, I'm not the target audience for this game's visual appeal, but I do appreciate how clean Genshin looks. So I might try to get her later on. I mean, she's on the standard banner, isn't she? So eventually I'm sure to fail a 50-50, yet be happy that it was her I got.
He who knows he has enough is rich.
You don't make money very easily in a time like this. If we can't find jobs in the city, we're gonna starve again.
If you really can't find any job in the city, come to Liushan Tea House and ask for Janshin. I will gladly help you search for jobs and work alongside you.
Before arriving at the rearguard base, I wanted to note how cool this minigame was, turning a 3D game to a 2D platformer. I wish there would be more encounters like this scattered throughout the map, but sadly this was the only place where I found an entrance to the 2D world. Was there an event using this mechanic? I guess we'll never know, as I've not been playing WoW at the time where it might have happened. After some exploration on the way to the rearguard's camp, we arrive at the military complex. We have to find the person Genshin is looking for, which means we have to ask around. Not exactly the easiest thing to do in a military environment this close to the front lines. Thankfully Huanglong is an outrider, so we are not immediately sent away. Although probably Sanha's clearance would have been enough to stop the soldiers for a couple of questions. Before we could ask for directions regarding where we could find the highest ranking officer here, we meet face to face with the fact that we're in the middle of a war.
Not comprehend. Careful! This chest holds vital medical supplies. If the wounded return and find no medicine, it's on you. Handle with care and precision. An outrider. So, you were part of the backup force, right? Now, I've got wounded soldiers coming soon, and you're just in time to help. Oh, sorry.
The officer we run into first requires a resistance delivering some medical supplies to the wounded. Genshin will also help heal them. Only after that can we ride the lift to the upper floor and meet the rearguard's camp's officer. As I said, the theme for this quest is war. We've seen the petrol stations at the city gates. The exiles fleeing the reaches suddenly turned into a front line. The worrying grandfather who sent Genshin to find his grandson. The chaotic nature of a military camp near the battle lines. Officers always in a hurry, one emergency after the next, wounded wanting to go back to help their comrades, not fully aware of their dire conditions. The theme got through. While the quests themselves were just go from A to B and talk to X or Y, purely from a narrative perspective, the theme was handled well. Yet, I got more and more dissatisfied with the game. The story wasn't captivating. I've been playing for a total of 4 or 5 hours now, so I decided I'll give it a few questlines, yet then I'll decide if I want to continue. Now looking back, I can see the main problem with this part of the quest. And not just design-wise, but narratively too. This conversation with the officer here perfectly encapsulates the weakness plaguing this part of the main quest. Why do we talk to the officer? I thought we were trying to help Genshin find her target, but no, Genshin goes away and we ask, about the mangosteen? Really? Why? I do not get how we ended up bringing the mangosteen into the discussion. Maybe I missed something. If so, please let me know in the comments, I'm curious. But alas, we bring up the mangosteen and learn that the military is importing it from somewhere? You would think that in that case the magistrate's message would be tied to the place they're importing it from, or maybe the port itself, the supply line, but no. We say goodbye to the officer, meet up with Genshin, who lets us know she found the grandson she was looking for.
I found Julian.
Say goodbye to Genshin too, and then we try to sort out what the magistrate wanted to convey with the mangosteen. The final conclusion?
Running into Master
War.
Tianxing was a one-off incident. If the mangosteen indicates something about war, what is Madam Magistrate trying to convey?
This is what tied the whole quest together. War. It was the theme, so it's only natural it's also the meaning behind the quest item, even if at the time I just really didn't see how we arrived at this conclusion. However, we don't have time to mull about this, as we have a cutscene to witness.
General!
Meet Jian, General of the Midnight Rangers, who's fighting against the TDs. This is obviously a vision sent by, or at least somehow tied to the hunger voice inside us. After the vision is over, we will discuss what we saw with Huanglong. I will cut this part out and instead talk about our findings here, while I fight these tested discards with Jian.
Follow the Qinglong to war!
Yang has the proposition that what we are seeing is happening as we speak. The reason behind why we had this vision is unclear yet. There must be a connection between us and what's happening on the battlefield. We mentioned that we saw the event from the eyes of a tested discord. After bringing up the voice inside us, I try to, resonate with it? I don't really understand what we try to do here, but it seems like it worked to help us locate our next objective. After deciphering the candy, the sundial and the mangosteen, it's only the leaf left.
Those fluctuations pointed to a certain set of coordinates.
And that is Teacher Village in the Central Plains.
As we arrive at Chuchu village, it is clear to us something's amiss. First off, a tacit field has formed in the middle of the village, which we have to cleanse first. Then we investigate.
I think I found something, Rover.
We find tools for ritualistic sacrifice from a bygone era,
They hear someone was hurt.
clues that someone has been dragged away forcibly,
There are many footprints here. Watch out.
and a Tessid discard that seems to be capable of speech, even if limited to a few traumatized words. Brother! The Tessid discard weeps, and Young pieces the puzzles together.
Help, brother. Brother. Help.
This one probably devoured the frequencies of humans.
We find remnants of burnt carts in the middle of the town, and that's how we are introduced to the main villains of Solaris, the Fractsidus.
The Fractsidus?
I must admit, because I was bored with the quest, I missed Young summarizing for us what the Fractsidus are about.
I've worked on
Let's listen to it.
It's a group of extremists obsessed with fusing humans with tacit discords. No one knows their true intentions. Some members speak of world destruction, while others claim they seek eternal power.
So this is how Young knew the Fractsidus must be behind the Tessid discard.
He's crazy.
But not just any Fractsidus.
Standards
The
of
burnt
matters
carts tell a more complete
and
tale.
revels in destruction. They belong to this one overseer I'm talking about. They call him Scar. Huh?
Guess you won't need my self-introduction. Oh, I spent so much time on it.
And with that, I was sold. Just in time. I've quickly taken a liking to Scar. Yes, he might be the villain here. That's why we had the intro from Young. But right now, I don't care. As a rover, I lost my memories. People might be manipulating me. And Scar knows something, so I have to get it out of him.
I heard you've lost your memories.
All the while knowing that he might be manipulating me too. Might be? Who am I kidding? And besides, we are going to have to fight him anyway, won't we?
Tell you then. Before you knew anything about this world, you were already the center of conflict. You are the unknown variable we've been waiting for.
This is a railroad, and while I as a person might think about how I as a rover would have acted, I as the player playing rover have only one course of actions to follow the plot.
They all knew how valuable you are.
And it is clear that we will side with Jinzhou, which is also the morally correct choice, to which an alternate version of rover would have eventually come to in my books too. But that's it for the NDV fanfiction section here.
Because I see you as a dear friend, and I want to tell you the truth.
Now back to Scar, because I really like his design, his voice,
But truth
just everything.
hurts sometimes.
Why must he be a villain and not a playable character? As you can see, I'm letting more of his lines go through between my narration.
Little more.
The discussion we're having is crucial to this quest.
Before that,
It seems that Yang might not have been 100% correct, and it is up to our interpretation for now if the Fractsidus really had something to do with the catastrophe of Chuchu village.
why do you have to assume we are the culprits? Maybe you should be asking me what actually happened here.
We go around the houses gathering clues about what happened with the villagers. The structure for this part of the quest is following. We always read a part of a journal that we suppose belongs to the girl who turned into the non-Tessid discard we met, and after the journal, Scar tells a piece of history about the lamb and the shepherd. I will now cut these story pieces together and let Scar do his thing. In the last episode I've mentioned we'll slow down at some points in the story. I think this is one such point worth listening to in its entirety.
More complicated than you think. First, who are the players in our tale? An innocent girl, a revered leader, and a flock of simple villagers. Next, What makes up our main plot? False devotion, fleeting kindness, collective deceit, senseless killings, and the one vulnerable soul pushed onto a path of destruction by the masses. Now, Rover, the story is yours to spin. I'm eager to hear your version after you've learned more. Our story begins here. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village, lived a flock of carefree lambs. In the day, they toiled for food, and when evening fell, they sought refuge from the looming threat of wolves. The same story gets told by many, and each person brings their own spin, their own focus. Whatever you learn from it is just one of countless different interpretations, like us now. Caught in a carefully crafted plotline, a scheme I had no hand in. This village marks the beginning of my story with Jinzhou. So that magistrate led you here to meet me. Such a clever move on her part. One day, a shepherd visited the village. The shepherd brought them promises of abundance and protection. The lambs, drawn in by his words, soon lived in comfort and security. Nope, quite the opposite. The shepherd's arrival is only the beginning. With a wave of his hand, the shepherd could grant their every wish. His flock obeyed, bowing their heads, pleading for better food and shelter. They no longer had to struggle for survival, as their once meager lives were replaced with endless luxury. The flock worshipped their shepherd-turned-god, praising him and holding him in the highest regard. The lambs reveled in endless bonfire parties, celebrating their new god every night, except the one little black lamb. As each night passed, it was the only one to notice how its flock was dwindling away. When every wish comes with a hefty price, people weigh their options carefully. When they can make someone else bear the price, they all rush to make more wishes. They don't consider they too may one day pay for another's selfish desire. Funny, isn't it? Later, the shepherd openly blamed the black lamb for the flock's decline. On the next day, the white lambs welcomed the rising sun as usual. But the black lamb was nowhere to be found. The shepherd introduced an unspoken rule to this village. One that our black lamb violated by telling the truth. Suddenly, the once doting god stopped fulfilling wishes, because no more sacrifices were being made. After witnessing the black lamb's actions and hearing from their almighty shepherd, what do you suppose the white lambs did? Little lambs cowered and huddled in their village, terrified of the relentless wolf packs. Until a shepherd arrived, bearing the gift of wishes and providing shelter and sustenance. Slowly, the shepherd gained control over the flock, and the lambs lived contented lives. But this is not the end of our story. The shepherd found the solitary black lamb in his flock and offered to grant any wish it desired. In exchange, he wanted one of its companions as a sacrifice. The black lamb refused, and it was shunned by its flock, left without shelter or sustenance. After the black lamb's exile, more lambs continued to vanish. The shepherd then blamed the black lamb for breaking the rules. With withheld his wish-granting power as punishment. From the very beginning, the lambs knew the risk of making wishes. They too could become sacrifices for those of others. But they always believed it wouldn't be them. Meanwhile, some lambs reasoned that since they had already risked being sacrificed for someone else's wish, it was then only fair to pass on that risk for a chance at fulfilling their own desires. And so they continued to play the game. They all knew the consequences, but chose to remain silent. Fearful, yet greedy, they followed the shepherd's orders and made wishes again and again, until one day, a brave black lamb spoke up, shattering the flock's facade, their illusion of a peaceful and happy life. Black lamb got in their way, and that of the shepherd's greedy pursuit, sparking hatred in their hearts. Suddenly, they could no longer ignore the blood and ashes of past sacrifices littering the ground.
The Black Lamb and the Shepherd is a cautionary tale. It runs deeper than just what context it is given here in this story. While yes, Carr is telling it as a metaphor for the village's fate, those who really listen to it are met with the ethical problem of all authoritarian systems. If you question, you fall out of grace. If you fall out of grace, you'll be made the scapegoat or a scape lamb in our case. And the scape lamb will be sacrificed.
Then, let's see if this black lamb is going to end up like you say. Welcome to the realm of endless chaos.
Should the moral person question then? Your answer will depend on what kind of ethics you abide by.
You found us already. Shake and shake, blink an eye. A flock of lambs comes passing by. Fleece of white, black, and red. Who's the sweetest one ahead?
I can see the reasoning of the white lambs, and maybe I will turn out weak and follow suit, letting the world burn as long as there is a chance it might be not me who burns next.
One slip and you'll shatter to pieces.
But I hope I would have the strength to embody the Black Lamb. Does the tale of the Black Lamb end well? We can only hope that there is another way out, but the complete and final release.
Such speed! Such brutality! Can't you see? We are kindred spirits after all. Now that I have you here standing before me, I'd love to hear your answers. Tell me, do you want to be the rule-setting shepherd or the rule-breaking black lamb? If a sane person manages to survive in a realm of lunatics, would you call them the last one of reason or the sole apostle? Think about it. The shepherd is not the preordained embodiment of truth. Once he is gone for good, the black lamb can reclaim the trust of its herd.
Scar's idea is to return once the shepherd has left. Unfortunately, you and the lamb have no control on when or if the shepherd will leave at all. As someone whose forefathers lived through communist regimes, I know that. The Black Lamb and the Shepherd is a cautionary tale. It warns us about the price of having a self. But it warns us about blindly following rules too. there is no good end to this tale. The village was destroyed in the end. We've seen the results. But what does Scar have to do with it? He denied being the shepherd, rather he assumed the role of a black lamb. What is he playing at? We won't reach a conclusion yet as Huanglong breaks Scar's illusion, and another Fractsidus overseer shows up to remind Scar that his alone time with me is up.
Didn't you promise to leave me some alone time with Rover?
With one condition. I do hope you haven't let that slip from your mind. Don't let your improvisation trouble others.
Look at you, rushing in to protect your precious, perfect movement. Rover, it seems our happy little date must come to an end. But don't forget my sincere reminders. Let me know what you choose. The choice is yours. I know how smart you are. You won't make a hasty decision. We'll meet again in the not-too-distant future.
And so they leave through a portal and were left alone in the village with Huanglong. With Huanglong and the mysterious Tacit Discord.
Brother.
Why are you here, little one? I've never seen any Tacit Discord display such vivid emotions. The brother had mentioned. Could it be?
Or at least that's our guess, and while I'm not exactly sure how we came to that conclusion, I don't have evidence that would point me in another direction.
Rover, can you fill me in on what happened?
With the power of Huanglong's resonance ability, we find the cavern with the Tacit mark and the rest of the girl's story. The village was in a dire situation. The girl's father was fusing humans and TDs to protect the village, thus the shepherd granting wishes to the white lambs. However, in this story, there is no black lamb. The villagers find out what the father was doing and they kill both the father and the daughter. At least that's my interpretation of how this story ends. For, from the end point, it matters only that in the end, the whole village succumbed. And maybe Scar really was the black lamb, leaving the village when he found out what the shepherd, his father, was doing. But he never came back. Wasn't sacrificed. That's his spin of the tale. And with this context, his comment about coming back after the shepherd left makes more sense. All the villagers died now, and he's back in Jinzhou. A cutscene I skipped for better spacing showed Sanha watching us from the distance.
They are unharmed, please rest assured. As you anticipated, Scar did not try to kill them. Yes, I stayed out of it like you asked. Is everything all right on your end? Please be sure to stay safe, my lady.
And with that, we've reached the end of today's 2 quests. We've uncovered the secrets behind the leaf, and the 4 items the magistrate gave us now stand solved or whatever. I'm more interested in Scar's story now. Good hook. Before we could progress to the next main quest, we have to reach level 11 first, meaning some other quests or exploration are due now. I decided on the exploration part, although the game starts Yinlin's quest right after this ends. That will be for another day though. Before I logged off, I did some exploration, met Uncle Champy to deliver some summons caskets, activated some waypoints and reached the needed level to progress with the main quest tomorrow. And to close it all, I've acquired 2 characters at the end of the day, Encore from the beginner's banner, and Huanglong from my choice of a free character that every new player can claim. And just like that, after reaching the halfway point in the Huanglong story's main act, our on-field team in the next episode will change. See you there. Farewell.